Bungie has talked about creating a brand new kind of game, and I think the first comparison a lot of people are going to draw is games like Borderlands or even Diablo. Obviously, I think Bungie thinks it's more than just that sort of thing. So, what makes it different?
Destiny is a game we've been thinking about for a long time. For many of us, this is the game that we've always wanted to make. And what we wanted to do was to take that visceral simulation that we love about shooters that we've been making for a long time and marry it up in a really elegant way with the investment game so that the world is all about you can become legend, you can build and grow who you are over time. So when we look at the game, for us this is very much the next evolution. This is sort of our next logical step forward. If you think about what we used to say as the 30 seconds of fun of Halo, what is that new 30 seconds of fun? And so once we were able to pull that off, put it in a world with a great sandbox and great characters.
Yeah. So I got to play the strike missions a couple times, and this is obviously a multiplayer focused concept. You dive in there, you play for about maybe 30 minutes with your buddies, take down a boss, get some new gear. So I think the biggest question I have, and probably the biggest question most people have, is how does the campaign work? How are you actually telling your story?
Yeah, it is a great question to ask. We can't wait to talk to people more about our story. But that said, how do you make this investment game? How do you build this living, breathing world and yet make you the most important person in the universe? Whether you want to play story by yourself or with up to 3 players, you're going to be able to do that. So how does that happen? Well, players might begin in the tower, the social space, where they're buying new items, they're going off on new adventures. Like you did, you're going to land in the Cosmodrome, and you're going to be in a public combat space. That's where not only is it filled with enemies and combatants, it's also filled with other players. This is a crossroads of players moving from one place to another. Players transition seamlessly from that public space into a space that's built entirely just for them, whether you're by yourself or with 3 players. And then a short time later, you come out on the other side and you're back seamlessly into this larger public space. And this time, there might be 3 other players in there, and all of a sudden, a public event kicks off. And so you might participate, even though you're playing the story mission. In fact, you're by yourself. You decide, you know what? I'm going to go take down that mining operation. Then you head off on your own. You want to head back to story, or maybe you didn't want to participate at all, and then you're back into a private bubble where it's all just about you. And that's how the game works from moment to moment. These bubbles of both public and private bubbles.
So I've heard some people voice concerns of like, oh, it's just going to be an MMO with guns, and I'm going to be going after this boss, and I'm going to have to wait for it to respawn because somebody just killed it, and like that's not a situation that you're going to have to deal with.
That is not anything that you have to deal with. This is very much an action game, very much a shooter. This is the kind of game that we love to make. And another thing you're not going to have to do is we want young and old, or new veteran and new players to play together. And so one of the ways we do that is we have a private loot stream. We don't want people fighting over the kind of loot they have. But we also want that loot to be tailored to the kind of player that I am. And so that's where we can go out. If you're a veteran player and I'm new, we can go out into places, and it's fun for you to play with me because you're going to always get stuff that you care about. So we're not squabbling over it, and it's meaningful because I'm a new player. I'm getting often lower level gear and lower level equipment that I need to continue to build and grow. But just because you're out there, you're also getting stuff that's meaningful to you.
Bungie has talked about a lot about the importance of building worlds for their games, and how in some ways it's just as important as creating the gameplay mechanics, as you have to build this world that people are going to be attached to. I mean, what's the challenge of creating a new world, and how do you get players interested in something that's completely brand new to them?
We think about this a lot. I mean, so all of the technology aside, we want to build a place where you just see one piece of concept art, a screenshot, maybe a short movie, and you're like, I don't even know what that game is. I just want to be there, right? Like if players can't do that, if they can't say, yeah, that looks awesome, or that looks crazy, or that's totally, I'm totally going to love that space, then we haven't done our jobs. In this case with Destiny, it's in our own solar system. It's home, And now as Guardians, as these heraldic knights, we're going to take it back. And so we've often said, we're going to build a place that's familiar, because ultimately we're going to throw a whole bunch of crazy stuff at you, and that's what we've been able to do with the Destiny universe. And I think it pays off.
Tracking of player info. Ever since Halo 2, you've been keeping track of all this stuff, and then with Halo 3 on the Xbox 360, you've been tracking info across different platforms, Xbox, Xbox 360, and now you're launching on 4 different platforms. If I start playing on PlayStation 4 and I go to my friend's house, and he has an Xbox One, can I get my character on that build?
Well, you have to stay tuned for that. The one thing you will be able to do, though, is go to the Destiny companion and see all of your friends, no matter what platform they like to play on across the entire world, and be able to socialize them. And even we might have a meaningful experience or two that just sits on the companion itself. That's an extension of this world. We want to make sure that when you're playing inside of Destiny on the console, you're having an awesome experience no matter what console you're playing on. But then when you're not there, there are meaningful things to do with the Destiny companion.
Bungie has a history of tying in some of their older games into the new ones, throwing in little hints. Are you going to be tying in any of your other products into Destiny?
It wouldn't be a Bungie game if we didn't tell a great story, if we didn't have great competitive multiplayer. You name it. But certainly, we care a lot about our culture. We care a lot about who we are. We care a lot about and love the games of the past. And so I think you'll see 1 or 2 nods here and there.
Are you ready to talk about the voice casting yet?
We are not. Yeah.
So
more to come.
Are you seriously? You will not admit to me that is Peter Dinklage as your AI companion.
There is plenty more to come, and I think there's a lot of characters inside of the Destiny universe that players are going to be
like
super
Morgan
excited
Freeman
about.
could be in this game. You'd be like, I don't know, maybe. A lot of people at Bungie dedicated to making Destiny. How has this impacted the development of Pimps at Sea?
So, Pimps at Sea, still a working project. I'd say, we're still do many meetings on it, but clearly this is an all hands on deck moment for Destiny, and so I think.
Has the debut of the next generation of consoles? Do you have to rethink what you're doing?
There's been a lot of thinking about just sort of what's gonna happen with the release of new consoles. So once again, stay tuned.